good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. So our topic today is to take a look at learning paths and how to make your learning paths most effective. When you look at many of the different solutions that are out there today, you see a lot of learning paths that are simply a list of courses to take. And while that certainly has a purpose out there, with CYPHER's learning paths, there's a lot more power that can go into it and be able to build something that is more engaging for your learners, as well as more effective for you as an administrator or an instructor. So we're going to walk through a couple of different scenarios today and look at how these work in the CYPHER platform. So I'm going to start off by building a new learning path. And in this particular situation, what I want to create is a learning path for my corporate ethics program. So I go ahead and create this. This is all going to be self-paced in this case. So that's all good and set. So I go ahead and save this, and we're ready to begin our corporate ethics program process. Now, one of the things that makes our learning path very unique is that it has all of the features of a course outside of the path. So you can add all of your other features in there. So I can go in, I can add a chat room to a learning path. I can add forums, I can add groups. All of those features that are available on our courses are also available on our learning paths. What makes that so powerful is the ability to combine courses with other elements. So in my particular case, I want to create this corporate ethics course. So I'm going to go in and start off by adding in a new module. So I go ahead and add that module. And the first part of this is going to be a course called Ethics in the Workplace. And I can add a description of it, of course. And I go ahead and add that. And now I'm ready to add the course to it. So when I go in here, I'm able to choose any of my course features, but when I have the path feature enabled, which is done through your App Center, I'm then able to add a goal. And in this case, I'm going to choose a course as my goal. I can also choose a certificate that's awarded from elsewhere in the platform and require that as part of the course. But for our situation, we'll use a course, and I'm going to use the Ethics in the Workplace course that in this situation is something that was pre-created and is something that is more of a generic ethics in the workplace course. So perhaps I purchased this from a third party, and this is going to form one of the core tenets of my corporate ethics program. So I go ahead and add that in. And I can now see my first module is now this ethics in the workplace course. And one of the great ways to really take advantage of learning paths is to know I've got this off-the-shelf course that I've added in here, but I want to add some additional corporate policies that go along with this. So in this case, I'm going to come in here. I'm going to add another module. And in this case, I'm going to put in information specifically on our expense policy. So here I can add this in, but what I'm going to do to start off is I'm going to create a course for this so that I can then add it in. And I'm going to use our CYPHER agent course creation tool to do all of this off of my fictitious expense policy that is taken care of for me already. So I'm going to make this as quick as possible as we go through here. So we're going to limit this on how much data is being created. And then in the content section, for custom data, I'm going to use yes. And I'm going to take my fictitious expense policy and add that in here and have CYPHER agent create a quick course on this document. So this will take just a moment for it to process. Estimated about 3 minutes here. So while we wait for that to come in, we're going to go back into our document or our course that we created here. And we're going to go in and look at some of the path features that are out there. Actually, I went to the wrong one, didn't I? So when I have my path enabled, there are a couple of additional features that come into your course settings. One of those is options to control instructors and learners. So you'll see an option if a learner or instructor is added to this course, then they're also added to all of the courses that are in there. So you have the ability to enable that or disable that as you go through. And then particularly if you're using this for compliance, you may want to re-enroll people at the end of the year and have them restart progress. So we have the option to re-enroll in all of those courses or unenroll from all of those courses as well to reset the progress on their previous course attempts as you go through there. So all of that is taken care of there. So we should have enough now. So let's go ahead and go back, and we've got our expense policy. So I'm going to add the course and add a goal. Again, we're adding a course goal. One of the things I didn't show earlier is there's an option here to treat as assessment. So when you treat as assessment, that allows you to use the score of the course as part of the score for the learning path. So what I could do then is say, if this had an assessment in it, this should be worth 50 points. And if I score an 80% on the final assessment for the course, then it would be worth 40 points in the learning path. So you're able to control and weight each one of the different modules in your course as you go through that. So that gives you a way to provide the different areas that you want to really focus on in the course or path. So let's go ahead and continue here, and I'm going to add in this expense policy course. So now I've got my 2 modules of 2 different courses that I want to include in there. And then let's add one more item in here. And this is going to be a nod course. So we're going to add an acknowledgement. Since this is going to be one of the standard corporate compliance courses, we want to make sure at the end that they acknowledge that they have completed the course and are ready to go through that. So I'm going to now add, rather than a page or a file, I'm going to go in and add mandatory checkboxes. You select below to acknowledge your completion of this course. So I go ahead and add that in, and it's going to take me in. And now I need to add my checkbox. And it's going to say, I acknowledge that I have reviewed the ethics in the workplace course and CYPHER's expense policy. And we're done. So by doing that, now we have a mandatory checkbox that has to be checked to complete this course, to complete the path. So that is one of the other unique features that is out there in the CYPHER platform to help make this easy to manage. So now if we take a look here, I'm going to just take a look at the course as a learner real quick. So I can see that I've got all 3 of my courses. I can start this course and start the course that goes in it. And it's just standard straight into that learning path to a course. All of that is ready to go. But I also could jump around because I do not have this set to require everything. So now I also have to check this box and save it in order to complete. And I made a mistake there because I am not actually enrolled in this course. So for a learner, they would actually not receive that, but because I'm just viewing this, I'm not able to complete that. So that is a very quick overview of putting courses in there and adding in this corporate compliance program to provide some context around that off-the-shelf course. Caitlin, did we have any questions we need to address here before we go on to our next?
Yeah, we have one from Tom, says, how do you hide the individual courses in the path in the catalog and only show the path in the catalog?
Great question. So I did skip over a little bit of those features. So let's go back over here. So we have an enrolled display set up here. So it tells us what courses appear in the enrolled tab on the learner's home dashboard. So we can choose that the path and each course section they're enrolled in are displayed, which is the default. But we can also say the path or just the course section that they've most recently visited, or the path only is displayed and not the courses the learner is enrolled in. So doing that will take the enrolled courses off of there. Now, if you want to take them out of the catalog as well, because these are individual courses, if they're published, they will show up in the catalog. So that would just be a matter of going into the other courses that were created and used in there and going into those and making sure you've got those set so you have the proper module. So this one is not published. If it were published, it would show in the catalog, which we can see that it does here. But then we can also unpublish it and it will not show in the catalog. So that there's 2 different things that are being accomplished there. Were there any other questions to address?
No, one just came in. This is from Stuart. Is it possible to control visibility to each step of the path so students only see a section when they've passed the previous one?
That is always a possibility because, again, it's treated like a course. The automated materials do happen there. So you're able to go through all of the different display options here. So we have all the features that are there. We have all of the enrollment restrictions that are there that can be done out of the box. But then we also have all of the completion, and that can be requiring modules to be completed when shown, as well as being able to use all of our additional requirements, like only displaying the modules up to where you are in the course. So all of those settings are available that are on a standard course are also available here. And then our next scenario that we're going to look at is also using some automations and being able to dynamically display and remove modules from the course based on the learner's progress as well. So we'll get into a little bit more of that here in just a second as well. Were there any other questions, Caitlin?
Nope, you can keep going.
All righty. So our next section approach to this is going to be, as I said, looking at this from another learning path. And in this case, it's going to be our Mastering Adobe Illustrator course that I've already built this learning path. Everything is already out, so you don't have to watch me do that all again, but we're going to look at some of the other features that we can add in. And this really gets into more of a prescriptive learning approach. So what we have set up here is we have a pre-assessment. So that is already set and has a 20-question quiz that includes a question bank of all sorts of wonderful questions about Adobe Illustrator that I probably cannot answer because that is definitely not my strong point. So we have that, but then we also have a series of courses. So we have our Illustrator for Beginners course that is ready to go, and we can enroll in that. We have an intermediate Adobe Illustrator course, and we have an advanced Adobe Illustrator course. And then finally, we have a final assessment. So in this particular case, what we want to do is use this pre-assessment and use that as the basis of where a learner is in their skill set. You can get very granular on tagging and all sorts of other things based on individual question banks. We're just using, for the sake of time today, one large bank of questions that we're going to base our knowledge on. So we're going to go into score rules for the assessment, and we're going to add a few rules here. We're going to say, if they get a perfect score on that assessment, great, you've already mastered everything, and we're going to go in here and hide Illustrator Basics. And we won't add any notification, we just want that to happen automatically. We're going to hide Intermediate Illustrator. And we're going to hide Advanced Illustrator. But because they got a perfect score on this, there's no reason for them to take the post-assessment. So we're also going to hide Final Assessment. So that if I were to get a perfect score on this assessment, which again, most likely will not happen with my knowledge of Adobe Illustrator, I'm done with this learning path. I've just removed all of those courses and the assessment from the learning path for that learner. So we remove all of that. So now we could add a second rule. So if the score is less than 100, but greater than or equal to 80, let's do 80. So we're going to create a second set of rules here. And this is going to be someone who's a little bit more knowledgeable, but still needs to look at something. So the same thing, we can go in and hide Basics and hide Intermediate. So they had a good enough score that they've got a good background in Illustrator, but we want them to get those more advanced skills. So by doing that, we're able to dynamically alter this learning path based on the pre-assessment that they took earlier. So there's a lot of other ways that you can go through and control this. Obviously, there's all of our different actions are available here. You've got the ability to hide assessments, hide modules, hide sections, or show them so that same matter occurs. So the other aspect that we could do in answer to your question earlier on hiding and showing the different modules, we could start off and say, by default, final assessment is hidden for everyone. And advanced is hidden for everyone. And then throughout the course, we could go in and we have all of the different completion actions for each individual module or course in this case. And we could certainly create options there and be able to, based on having completed this, we're now going to show the next module. So that is also able to be manually controlled in addition to the drip-based content and locking and unlocking that can be done through the system itself. And if you're interested in those, you are able to go back. We about a month and a half ago, I believe it was, we did an entire CYPHER Live on drip content and locking and unlocking with prescriptive actions, which is one of the other things that went through all of these features. So there's a whole session on that that is available for replay on cypherlearning.com that you can go back and review. So all of those we can add in there, and then we're able to add additional aspects to this. Now, one of the things that we haven't really looked at is adding a game into this. So rather than going in and manually creating this, I'm going to use Cypher Agent over here. Oh, actually, I don't have the ability to do that right now because I don't have that turned on in this particular environment. So we won't show that at the moment. But what we can do is have those gamification elements added in throughout the course. So if we have a learning path, we have all of our different functions that are out there. So we can have mastery levels with different skills that go along with it. And I'm just going to pull in some generic ones here. They would already be associated normally with your course. So we've got all of these different skill levels that are here, and we can start to add rules around that. So as we go through all of the different courses that are in here and build up your skill level, we can say that as this particular skill level reaches a mastery level greater than or equal to, we'll do 75%. And we can specify how long they have to have that score before it triggers. We can now go in and we can award badges, we can award certificates. That also can be used, of course, to add in all sorts of tags. It can be used to enroll in a course. So all of those same actions are available, but we can add those gamification elements throughout and award a badge based on achieving your mastery of the skills that are included throughout the learning path. And when you take those assessments, you show that you mastered that knowledge. We can have that all automated based off of the learning path features and that are also course features to go through it. So all of that can be done at the learning path level, separate from the course, and still pull in that data on your skills on all of those other aspects. What other questions can I answer for you?
There's no more questions in the Q&A, but if you do have any more, please do drop them in. If there's sort of scenarios how you might use a learning path, for example, onboarding new hire cohorts, leadership cohorts, that kind of thing. What questions you have? Oh, we just got one in from Tom. The learning path requires modules to be completed in order, and the course in the path also has prerequisites. Does that create problems with unenrolling and re-enrolling? If it does, what do you recommend?
Sure, Tom, absolutely. And I know exactly what you're getting at there. So there are a couple of different options that are there. One of the real challenges is if you were using certificates as the basis for unlocking. Certificates are not something that can automatically be revoked. So if you want to award the same certificate every year for your completion of the course, you can't rely on locking based on a certificate. You have to use other actions. So one of the great ways to do that would be to go in and upon completion of Illustrator Basics, we're going to add a completion action there. And we're going to add an award. I'm sorry, no, we're going to use other. I apologize for that. Award would be for our certificate, but we're going to add a tag. And that tag is going to be at class ID completed. So in this particular case, it's going to give me that whatever the class number is completed. I can use the variable. If I want to just manually do it, I can also just say Illustrator Basics completed. Great, so I add that tag in. So when they complete the course, that will be added to it. And then I can now go into the next course and have visibility. We currently have this shown, but what I'm going to do is add a visibility filter. And we're going to say that we want one where tags are in. And it was Illustrator Basics completed. So we're gonna have to manually put that in there because no one has that tag yet, but from there we can start that process. So just to show you what that looks like, we're gonna go back here. I've got some predefined filters in here that are the same as thing. So we just add that they have that tag. And if that is there, then this module becomes visible. Same thing could be done for locked. So you can unlock and lock that way as well. If there's specific concerns around the module, you can also go in and for the course itself, I can go in, and that one is the intermediate. So let's find that one, intermediate Adobe Illustrator. And on this, we can go in and go to our enrollment options. And to be safe, we can always add when someone is enrolled in the course, we want to remove the tag. To make sure that they don't have that tag from a previous. So every time they're enrolled in the course, that would just get automatically removed from the course. So that would allow you to manually control those if you need to manually lock the modules based on something and you can't rely on the certificate to do that. I hope that answered your question, Tom. Were there other questions?
There are not. Oh, no, we just got another one from Katie. Can you talk a little bit about the options available for grading assessments? For example, how to assign weight to different assessment catalogs, how to set up an individual assessment scoring criteria?
Sure, I can give you a little bit of the overview on the assessment within the course, within the path. So let me go back to one of the paths here since I'm in a course at the moment. So as I talked about earlier, you're able to choose to, actually, let's just go into this one here. And we're going to add a section just to make this a little bit easier. We're going to do that goal. And we're going to choose a course. Oop, a little bit of an issue there. Let's try that again. Can't put ourselves, so let's do that one. All right, so we then treat as assessment. So here's where I would weight everything. So we can say with the maximum score, again, that is the number of points for this particular course. So I can specify whatever number I want there, and I can put it into different categories of assessments in the platform. I can do whether it's a normal grading, whether it's extra credit, whether it's not graded, and we can choose grading scales there that are automatically done and provide instructions as well at the start of the assessment outside of the assessment itself. So all of that is part of the path features. Going into all of the different assessment types and all of the individual grading options there would be a whole additional session. So Caitlin, why don't we do our next CYPHER Live on assessment options?
Yeah,
and
I think I was just thinking that.
So our next one of these, we will do an entire deep dive then into assessment options for you and go through each of the different options and setting up question banks, grading criteria based on that, and go through all of those in a good amount of detail. I think, are we doing 2 weeks for the next CYPHER Live, Caitlin?
Uh, in 2 weeks from now, the next Cypher Live is, I believe, on a topic with Graham. So it'll
Okay,
be 4 weeks from now. But yeah,
4 weeks.
so Katie, we will get this and get this for you so we can do a deep dive into it. Hopefully that's not too long out for you. If you do have specific things you'd like to see us cover in that Cypher Live, feel free to just respond to the follow-up email. I'll see it. And then we can make sure Mark goes over that. One things I also did want to mention, and I'll make sure it's shared out as part of the resources, Mark used referenced automation quite a bit in this Cypher Live and how you can use it to control behavior. We have a bunch of walkthroughs, click-through walkthroughs demonstrating the different ways you can use automation because it's really, really flexible and there are a lot of options there. So if you haven't played around with it, I encourage you to do so. You'll probably be amazed at what you can do with automation, whether it's part of a learning path or part of a course or part of something broader. But yes, Katie, please send me your questions and we'll get them into the next Cypher Live with Mark. And speaking of which, Mark, Tom is asking if we can use the @completed tag as a prerequisite.
For a prerequisite. So let's see here. Let me share my screen again here. I was letting you see my lovely face again, Tom. So I know that's the highlight of your day. So let me get that back up here.
That's why everyone comes.
All right. So we're going in here and so let's see here. We're going to go into enrollment. So prerequisite, no. We would only, a prerequisite we could only do as a certificate, but the tags can be used to lock or unlock. So while they may be able to enroll, they won't be able to complete the course with the locking and unlocking method that I showed you.
Okay, great. But actually, Tom, if you do want to learn more about automation, the Cypher Live on September 17th, so 2 weeks from now, is going to be with Graham Glass, and he's going to go through how to use automation. So come back with that, and we can look at different ways you can control prerequisites. Okay, so 2 weeks from now, we're doing automation, and it looks like based on the outside outcome of this call, we will do a deep dive into assessments next month in October. So please do return for that. Alex is asking if you could walk through a list of triggers that move a student along a learning path. Can dates trigger new stages, modules, or courses to open, or is it all completion and assessment based?
It can be a variety of different things. So that is also part of that drip content course or session that we talked about. So drip content allows you to do any type of date based. So I can set for this to release modules every day through that. But you can also then do things based on a variety of different types of actions with inactivity. So you can set number of days of inactivity to send out reminders and lock and unlock modules based on that. You can also set a variety of other options using our deactivation features, which allow you to set things based on time. So this is used to set a due date. So for example, we set this at it's due in 30 days from when you start. And what I can then do is add rules all along. So right now it has 6 days left is already built, but we can set, if it's in 30 days, I can start in 5 days, adding in all of these different activities. So I can then go in and same thing, hide modules, show modules, and release all of that based on a time-based schedule with a due date at the end.
Okay. Follow-up question is the release only by X number of days or specific calendar days like Friday, September 5th, 2025?
For this, it is, because this is a self-paced course, it is going to be very specific to those times because it's not based on a date frame. If you are using an instructor-led course, let me go into one here. This one is instructor-led. So there are a variety of different scheduling options that you can do. So that includes time-based then. So this course begins on a particular date, and then you can say it starts on 6 days before unlock. We can then have when it starts, add action, and finish. So you're able to do all of these different additional rules. So before, I'm sorry, you wanted after. So if this starts, that course starts on whatever today's date is, September 3rd, I can now set in 2 days after the start, so it's September 5th, then create this locking, unlocking action there.
Excellent. And just to remind everybody too, who's interested in sort of making content available and on the drip format, Mark's last Cypher Live is on content dripping. So you can just take a look at the Cypher Live page and you can find the content dripping live that Mark did. All right, if there are no more questions, then I think we can wrap up for today. Listen, this session has been recorded. We will share it out. As with all of our sessions like these, it's available on the pro tips page or the Cypher Live page. This is a Cypher Live, so it's gonna be on the Cypher Live page. It's also available on our YouTube channel where you can find the channels for the various webinars that we're doing. So we got an idea out of this session. If there are other topics you'd like to see us cover, please do send us a note. We're happy to get them in the calendar to go over. Generally speaking, we're alternating between Mark and Graham Glass, more or less. Graham likes to cover the AI stuff and the automation stuff, and Mark gets all these fun, really picky little topics that really help you with the day-to-day. But we're really happy to do them for you. They're great, and we love the interaction. So please, keep your eyes peeled for future invitations, and we will see you then. Hope everybody's having a great start to September.